So I was watching a dubstep live show at a dubstep festival, and there was like a satanic star that was blinking in the middle of the light show, and I realized how bad I felt like my life energy was being sucked away from me, and I just realized it might be like some kind of transmutational symbol, that helps like Satanists declare that whoever's looking at the star is a prime subject, a prime rib in one of their select goddesses' DNA structure, and you're just like, that person's agreeing to help build their DNA perfectly and accurately so that woman can exploit the world to her liking and to her perfect level of exploitation for the purposes of the satanic agenda. But I found this symbol when I just Googled pentagram transmutational assistance and found this article on how to draw a transmutational circle. And guess what I understand a transmutational circle has on it is here's how I interpret the symbols, which I feel are ridiculously easy to understand for me for some reason. First off, the circle itself is a diamond. It's got overlapping angles and lines. All of this is like, I think their awareness penetrating the world thoroughly and accurately, and having people stare into things that help them continue penetrating the world with their awareness perfectly and accurately. Then you have this symbol on the right-hand side. It's a symbol of colonization being perfected at random intervals of human history in ways that are not very easily mitigated. Then on the left side, this is a symbol that I can only say is a reoccurring theme that happens all over and all around us. It's the symbol of being scratched in the vagina. And it just basically means to cause sexual frustration in the masses, and so therefore cause sexual frustration in a selected individual, which then harms them so accurately that they have complete control over that person's life and the outcome of their life. Then as a result, that person gets shot into their matrix and ends up being condemned to hell. And that's what I think this symbol means right here, is that person being condemned to hell for all eternity, and basically just always being under their control, or just being something they exploit when they can say that person isn't completely under their control, and that person proves that they're not actually completely under their control. And I can say things that have happened to me in my current life, maybe not in my past life, but maybe in this current life, that I've had lived this in these three scenarios. I've lived under the premises of being colonized. I'm not going to go into that, but I'd say it's as simple as being force-fed the English alphabet my whole life and learning English perfectly. Then the next phase of it would be sexual frustration. I can say that I've lived a life where people could say I am just a prude woman who inevitably becomes sexually frustrated because I choose a life of chastity, which is inevitably something they would have forced me to do, and then said I if I'm not forced to do it, that I still would have done it. This symbol at the top is what I predict what would happen to me in my next life if I am unsuccessful at escaping the gigantic umbrella that is the realm of Satanist control over this planet, and every subtle thing I could possibly ever do to stop them. I think this symbol is representative of people like me in their afterlife, if they can say they did not do enough to stop the people harming them who are agents of the Satanic agenda. And so this is actually a pretty scary symbol, but I'm not afraid because of how easily I feel like I just interpreted it. And there's no scholarly articles I'm reading about this. This is just my own interpretation of the symbols and just looking at it and knowing what it means. This is clearly an arrow. It's going through a body, it's clearly a human. Then I'm seeing the image of another arrow piercing a head. In Satanism, all things are equal to one another at some point. A face is a vagina because Satanists are obsessed with fellatio. The arrow is going through the face. It's actually looking like it's piercing the vagina, which proves it's probably scratching the vagina, which proves that it's causing sexual frustration or it's causing some harm to a sacred part of the body, thus affecting the individual in a way that is not easily mitigated. And then this symbol right here represents someone being under complete control, because you have these two pillars stemming into the orb, which is representative of a person and the scope of their life being thoroughly examined, because that person is under inspection. They're being probed. There's two probes here, which proves this person's being probed intricately somehow, and that's probably as a result of them being harmed in their past life so terribly that they could not mitigate it, and so they were condemned to hell by Satanists, by their own methods of control that they could not stop them from condemning them to hell in their next life. And I feel like this back line that surrounds the back of the orb is it's representative of them being backed against a wall, having no choice but to accept the life they live and just live it. And it's basically a symbol of not being able to commit suicide, I feel, because that's also something that I've already lived through. I feel like I would have just committed suicide as a child to prevent myself from entering the transmutational circle itself by living some semblance of the things they want me to live, experiencing the colonization era, experiencing intricate harm that I cannot easily mitigate, and then also not being able to commit suicide, because I think this one symbol is also very important. It's proof that the individual that they condemn is them sent into another life in which they are under complete control because they cannot commit suicide, and that's what that back ridge represents behind the circle. It represents the individual not being able to commit suicide for whatever reason. And in many cases, it's just because the person feels pain. They cannot easily commit suicide because they feel pain. Suicide is always painful for a poor person because poor people inevitably feel pain. Satanists are the richest people on earth, and they do intricate things to themselves to not make themselves feel pain. And that's why they have to create pain footprints in the first place. They have to intricately harm people so thoroughly and so accurately so that they can condemn those people into life after life of living as a poor person and always feeling pain and not being able to commit suicide, and therefore fall out of the control of Satanists. Because if they can actually end their own lives strategically at the right moment, then they can say that they are not actually under control of the Satanic order. And I know that I've lived under the influence of their attempt to usher me into their transmutational circle, the control the controls of their transmutational circle, which, well, again, we'll repeat, is experiencing the colonization era, any form of it, perhaps just being forced to learn English as your first language, then experiencing intricate harm that cannot be easily mitigated, which is the scratch in the vagina, then not being able to commit suicide when one wants to, because your life is terrible, you know it's only going to get worse, and you know they might have control over where you go when you die, and you're just not able to commit suicide because you'll experience too much pain because you're a poor person who feels pain. Thank you so much.